Really, it is difficult. It's hard to explain to, a 5 and a 6, nearly 7-year-old what's going on.
Oh my goodness, you guys, it's finally happening. Kate Middleton, yes, our Princess of Wales, has opened up about her parents' marriage. And let me just say, it's not the fairy tale we all believed in. For years, the Middletons looked like the perfect, buttoned up, prim and proper family. But now the cracks are showing and Catherine is quietly revealing the truth behind those oh so polished appearances. So what's really been going on behind those elegant Middleton doors? Is the marriage between Carol and Michael all smiles and Sunday roasts, or was it all just a well-rehearsed act? Let's spill the tea. From the outside, the Middleton family always gave off this aura of perfection. Neat, successful, well-behaved kids, a thriving family business. They seemed like the gold standard of middle-class Britain, climbing the social ladder with grace and dignity. But according to people who really knew them, that glossy image covered something far more complicated. It turns out the Middleton household wasn't full of warmth and giggles. There was a quiet tension, a sort of cold politeness that lingered like a silent guest at dinner. Carol and Michael, their marriage was more business arrangement than love story. No big fights, no yelling matches, but also, shockingly, no affection. Even behind closed doors, their connection felt formal, stiff, calculated. Carol was the powerhouse, running the home, calling the shots, building the business. And Michael, he was there, sure, but in a quiet, almost ghost-like way. Supportive, yes. Present, technically. But emotionally, distant, reserved. His role wasn't that of a partner, but more of a background character, and their kids, oh, they noticed. Especially Catherine, the poised, composed, always smiling future queen, learned early on that emotions weren't really welcome in the Middleton household, and so she trained herself to stay calm, to hold it all in. That regal composure we admire, it didn't start at Kensington Palace, it started in her childhood living room. Now, let's talk about Party Pieces, the family business that was supposed to be Carol's big move out of her old life. She launched it in 1987, right from the kitchen table, selling fun, quirky party supplies. It wasn't just about balloons and confetti. For Carol, it was everything. Her purpose, her identity, her status symbol. She poured every ounce of herself into it. Meanwhile, Michael once again stayed in the background, never challenging her, never taking the lead. He helped, sure, but always quietly, always passively, like the stage crew of a play, not the star. Party Pieces didn't just bring in money, it opened doors. Better schools for the kids, access to the right people, it was the ticket to rubbing shoulders with the elite. So when Catherine met Prince William, it didn't feel like some random royal miracle. The Middletons had strategically placed themselves in the right circles for years. But nothing lasts forever. Eventually, the business started slipping. The market changed. Competitors got smarter. And Carol? She doubled down. She pushed harder. She refused to see the warning signs. Staff say that when sales fell, she didn't slow down. She accelerated. New product lines, riskier investments, harsher deadlines. Michael, ever the cautious one, grew uneasy. He voiced concerns, asked to pull back. But Carol? She barely listened. She had a dream, and she wasn't about to let anyone, even her husband, stand in the way. And then it all collapsed. Party Pieces fell apart under the weight of its own ambition. Suppliers went unpaid, debts mounted. The brand that once symbolized Middleton's success became an emblem of its unraveling. And just like that, the business was gone. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just the business that suffered. The failure exposed deeper issues in Carol and Michael's marriage. Issues that had been quietly simmering for years. Carol kept fighting to salvage what was left. Michael, as always, remained quiet. But now his silence was louder than ever. And as the public saw the fairy tale begin to crumble, Catherine started to pull back. Slowly, subtly, but definitely pulling back. These days, people close to the family say the closeness between Kate and her parents just isn't what it used to be. She's still respectful, still dutiful, but there's a chill in the air now, a quiet distance. And then there's the way Kate has started talking about her childhood. Nothing dramatic, no bombshell interviews, but there are little comments, little glimpses that hint her past wasn't all sugar and sunshine. She's softly dismantling the idea that everything was perfect. And honestly, it's kind of refreshing, because while Carol's little business turned empire helped elevate the family's social status, it also brought stress, obsession, and emotional strain. What started as a sweet venture became an all-consuming mission. And Michael, he faded into the background, barely putting up a fight. The foundation of the family, the one we all assumed was so solid, was really quite fragile. Back in the early 2000s, when Kate was starting to date William, Party Pieces wasn't just a business. It was a symbol. Carol smartly aligned the brand with soft royal aesthetics, pastels, classic designs, subtle nods to palace life. The branding was clever, calculated, and it worked. But behind the pretty packaging, stress levels were peaking. The pressure to maintain success pushed Carol to control every tiny detail. And Michael, he disappeared even more. He gave up trying to steer the ship. He let her take the reins, even as they headed into stormy waters. Their love story, if you could still call it that, was fading. But rewind for a moment. How did it all start? Let's go back to the beginning, before the headlines, before the royal wedding, before the crumble of Party Pieces. Carol and Michael were just two regular people from completely different worlds. Carol Goldsmith, born in 1955, grew up in a modest, working-class household. Her dad was a builder. Her mom worked part-time in a shop. Life was structured, disciplined, and practical. Carol learned early that if she wanted more, she had to work for it. And work she did. After finishing school, she got a job as a secretary, then trained as a flight attendant with British Airways. The job was glamorous on the outside, but required serious discipline. She traveled, mingled, learned to carry herself with grace and confidence. Michael, on the other hand, was from an entirely different background. Born into the British upper middle class, his father was a pilot and his mother came from wealth. He had a quiet, traditional upbringing, private schools, good manners, a reserved nature. When the two met at British Airways, Carol, the bubbly stewardess, and Michael, the calm, composed dispatcher, it wasn't some dramatic love at first sight tale. It was quiet, steady, a connection that grew over time. Carol was vibrant and ambitious. Michael was thoughtful and gentle. Together, they balanced each other out. Their relationship wasn't flashy, but it worked. For a while, after they married, they lived modestly, worked hard, and started their family. Catherine was born in 1982, followed by Pippa, then James. From the outside, the Middletons looked picture perfect, but even back then, the dynamics were set in stone. Carol was the leader, Michael was the support, and Kate, she was the glue holding it all together, even as a child. So, where were we? Ah yes, Catherine, born into a family that, to the outside world, looked so solid, so perfect. But behind those picture-perfect family photos, there was something else, a quiet tension, a subtle, ever-present emotional divide. And right in the middle of it, little Kate, who learned far too early that someone had to keep the peace. Even as a child, Kate carried a quiet responsibility. No one told her to. No one asked. She just knew. Her mother, Carol, was always in motion, managing the house, growing the business, pushing forward with everything she had. Her father, Michael, was there, but emotionally checked out. Always calm, always silent. That left Kate to bridge the emotional gap. She became the emotional anchor of the house, the soft-spoken one, the one who kept things running smoothly with a smile. Her siblings were younger, carefree, but Kate, she was the little adult in the room. She knew when to stay quiet, how to read the atmosphere, how to make sure no one rocked the boat. Neighbors and family friends noticed it too. Even as a child, she was the composed one, reserved, always watching, always composed. She wasn't unhappy, just caring more than a child ever should. And this emotional control, it never left her. Kate's revelation, delivered not in bombshell interviews, but in soft admissions and strategic silences, landed like a gentle thunderclap. Every glossy picture has a backstory, and sometimes it hurts. Instead of shattering her image, the honesty deepened it. She isn't the unflappable Snow White we imagined. She's a woman who grew up smoothing wrinkles no one else dared mention, and finally decided to stop ironing other people's silence. So, the curtain's falling. And even though there hasn't been any grand announcement, no dramatic royal press release, or emotional sit-down interview, the message is loud and clear. The Middleton family, once hailed as the symbol of poised, perfect normalcy, is changing. And Kate, she's finally letting go of the fantasy. Let's start with Carol. Once the unstoppable force behind Party Pieces and the ever-present figure at royal functions, smiling, coordinating, making it all look easy, she's not quite the same anymore. Those who know her say something's shifted. The sparkle in her eyes is dimmer. The pride she once wore like a crown is now laced with quiet regret. And the empire she built, it's gone. Not just the company, but the influence. The role she used to play in every major family moment, guiding decisions, planning events, giving little nudges to palace aides, is gently fading. She's still there, still loving, still fiercely loyal, but the commanding voice has softened. Now she focuses more on her grandchildren, being Granny Carol, baking cupcakes, reading bedtime stories, replacing boardroom meetings with playdates. It's not a loss, it's a shift. But still, for a woman who spent decades building something from scratch, that shift stings. And Michael Middleton has become a whisper. He's barely seen. No longer in the background, he's almost out of frame altogether. Whether it's emotional withdrawal, quiet heartbreak, or simply a man retreating from a world that became too loud, we may never know. What we do know is that he's disappeared from public life almost entirely, not out of scandal, just silence. The man who once held the family's quiet center, the calming yin to Carol's ambitious yang, has gone inward. Friends say even when he does attend family events, he's there, but not really there. Polite smiles, brief nods, but the warmth, the spark, gone. And Kate? Oh, Kate, she's carrying it all, not in the dramatic way we see in movies, but in the quiet, everyday way that's somehow even more painful. Behind the flawless fashion and public composure, there's a daughter who once thought she could keep her parents united and now realizes she can't. She's not angry, she's not blaming, she's just done. There was a time when she shielded them. She protected the family image like a palace guard. She made excuses. She smiled a little harder. She made space for both parents, even when they could barely look at each other. But these days, those familiar with Kate say she's stopped trying to fix it all. Not because she doesn't care, but because she finally understands that not every crack can be filled with grace and composure. There's a soft grief in that, a slow, painful goodbye. Not to her parents, but to the idea of what they used to be. The Middletons aren't falling apart in front of cameras. There's no dramatic finale, no headline screaming divorce, just quiet change, emotional distance, a family adjusting to a new reality where not everyone fits the same way they used to. Carol is still around, but softer now. Michael, still gentle, but further away than ever. And Kate, she's letting go. Not of love, not of loyalty, but of the burden of pretending everything is fine. She's not just the Duchess of Cambridge. She's a daughter, a mother, a woman choosing authenticity over image. She's walking away from the polished version of her past and embracing something raw, something human. And somehow, in all of this, she's never looked more like a queen. What do you think about Catherine's quiet revelation? Is this the beginning of a new chapter or the end of one? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And before you go, make sure to check out the video on your screen. It's one you don't want to miss.